It's nearly here. The Six Nations getting closer, and Steve Borthwick has named his first England team. What do you make of it? Let me know in the comments. First thing to say is that I was wrong when I said on the video yesterday, wondering about the rumoured England team. I was wrong that Steve Borthwick will prevent leaks from getting out and the team from getting out. Because after I made my video, there was another leak, and it turns out that leak was absolutely on the money. The England team is, as Will Kelleher put in the Telegraph yesterday. So all I know is from my time working in the Premiership and Steve Borthwick at Leicester, he had everything completely locked down. But this is England, another kettle of fish, a lot more ears and eyes and interest and investigative journalism going on. So even Steve Borthwick couldn't stop the team from coming out, which is a little disappointing, I guess. He'll probably be annoyed. But here, we can at least actually have a look at the team now. Officially, the team to play Scotland in Steve Borthwick's first game at Twickenham, hoping for a little resurgence in England fortunes. And what do you make of that pack? There's a few players that you knew would be in there. Jamie George, Maro Itoje, Ellis Genge. After that, it was all up in the air with the injuries of Tom Curry and Courtney Lawes particularly. You think if Courtney Lawes had been fit, he probably would have ended up in the second row alongside Maro Itoje. As it is, Ollie Chesham gets the start there. I really, really like Ollie Chesham. I was at Leicester not so long ago. The guy is massive. And I think one of the key words in this Steve Borthwick side is mobility, speed. And Ollie Chesham covers the ground. He gets all over the shop, more so than Johnny Hill. And I think that's why Ollie Chesham is in there. Because some people have questioned whether it's a slightly lightweight second row. I don't see it that way. Ollie Chesham's massive, but he can shift. And if you want to play a quick game and have the odd little offload, I think that's great to see. So, yeah, I'm glad Ollie Chesham's in. And as for the front row, Ellis Genge, we knew it was going to be Jamie George if he was fit. It's just as well because Luke Cowan-Dickie and Jack Singleton and George McGuigan, the next cabs off the rank, are all out. So Jack Walker's on the bench. Jamie George has come through return to play protocols and he's in, which is good news. Relief. Carl Sinclair getting the nod at tight head prop. Dan Cole on the bench. Brilliant to see Dan Cole back and we'll be getting another cap. Carl Sinclair, got a question mark over him. I want to see the Carl Sinclair that we have seen in the past because he hasn't quite been there, but he has been getting better. So hopefully Steve Borthwick can draw that sort of performance out of him. And then into the back row, great to see Alex Donbrandt wearing 8. What a story for Ben Curry. Bearing in mind, at one point when he first emerged onto the international scene, he was ranked slightly above his brother. Injury, misfortune, Eddie Jones's belligerence means that he's had to watch his brother get 45 caps. And I'm just bit of quick maths in my head. That's about £1 million as well. And not to mention all the endorsements and stuff. And Ben Curry's had to sit and watch that, knowing he's genetically identical, probably just as good. He just needs an opportunity. Well, he's got that opportunity, and I really hope he takes it. And as for Lewis Ludlam, I would have liked to have seen Ben Earl in the starting lineup. I cannot begrudge Lewis Ludlam being in the back row because that guy works and works and works. He's been brilliant for Saints over the last month, and I think he's a good balance to in the back row. With Alex Donbrandt particularly, if you want him to just float in and out of games and pick that line and that supporting line, you need someone that is just going to graft all day long. And you watch, the tackle count of Ben Curry and Lewis Ludlam is going to be off the charts on Saturday. Guaranteed. They work for days. Onto the backs. And what you got to remember is, much like with Courtney Lawes, probably in the second row, Tom Curry would have been in the back row. Had everyone been available, then probably would have been Elliot Daly on the wing. As it is, you've got Max Malins. I'm okay with that. Tommy Freeman might feel a little bit hard done by. Anthony Watson perhaps the same. You probably would have had Henry Slade instead of Joe Marchant, although I've got a lot of time for Marchant. Question is, if Dan Kelly had been fit, would he have been wearing 12? Because that's the thought, wasn't it? It was going to be Farrell 10, Kelly 12, probably Slade 13. But it's Smith and Farrell now. Is that just because Dan Kelly's injured? Thing is, there's word out of the England camp that Smith-Farrell was always the plan. And if that is the case, does that surprise you? Bearing in mind how much stick Eddie Jones got for trying Smith and Farrell in the autumn and last year, would it have surprised you and would it have disappointed you if Dan Kelly had been available and Steve Borthwick still went with Smith-Farrell? I'm not as down on Owen Farrell as a 12 as people seem to be. And watch my Owen Farrell tribute video where I explain exactly why. He came into the England team wearing 12 on his back. He's been in Lions teams with a 12 on his back. He is a world-class fly half, in my opinion, the best in the world. He's also England's best 12. I think Dan Kelly is the one man who could be better than him at 12, but I think this does go to show the point. And the reason why Steve Borthwick is using Owen Farrell at 12 and was considering apparently using Owen Farrell at 12, even if everyone was available, England do not have good 12s. I would have this conversation a bunch of times in the past when people were moaning about Owen Farrell being a 12. Why is he's not a 12? My question was always, okay, well, who'd you pick? And sometimes they'd say Ollie Lawrence, not a 12. Sometimes they say Manu Tuolangi. Can't really rely on him, not a 12. Mark Atkinson, injured. There's not many. And Dan Kelly is one. It'll be interesting to see. Probably will start against Italy if fit. But what happens after that? That will tell us a lot about what this Steve Borthwick side is going to look like as we look ahead to a World Cup. And I'll just put it out there now. Ford Farrell, World Cup 2023. Do not rule that out. I think there's legs in that. I do, which might upset some people. As for outside centre, Joe Marchant, one of the biggest gripes with the Eddie Jones era I have is that Joe Marchant felt he needed to go off to France to play his rugby. And now he's in the side. It's really frustrating if he cannot play for England next year, because he has been a Rolls Royce of a player right there all the time. And all this talk about needing a big player in the centre, I don't buy it. Steve Borthwick has gone with gas. Gas. Joe Marchant, Marcus Smith, Jack Van Portvliet, Turner Pace, Max Malins, and Ollie Hassel-Collins. So happy to see Ollie Hassel-Collins finally get a start. Totally biased because he went to the same school as me. I know I used to play rugby with his dad when I was coming through into the Colts at Newbury. And I'm just absolutely buzzing for him. He's been brilliant for London Irish. And it is well deserved that he is in the team. When you look at the bench, and can I just also say, Steve Borthwick, thank you for calling them replacements, not finishers, not game changers, replacements. I like that. Jack Walker, Mako Vanapola, and Dan Cole. Really pleased for Dan Cole. Nick Ezekwe, Ben Earl. Look at this for impact though off the bench. Ben Earl, Anthony Watson, Ollie Lawrence. Love that. That is gas. That is impact off the bench. The one player I'm disappointed that isn't involved on the bench, let alone starting, I would have liked him to have started, Alex Mitchell. I feel he's the one player that can really change the way England play, because he just plays with a tempo that Ben Youngs is brilliant. You don't get to 100 odd caps unless you're an outstanding player. But when I look at Alex Mitchell, I just look at someone who can play the game at a speed of Antoine Dupont and Aaron Smith, Dan Carter, I had in my head, or Jameson Gibson Park. I just don't see that speed off the bench. I hope I'm wrong. And let's be fair, Ben Youngs was brilliant in that comeback against New Zealand, so I'm willing to be proved wrong. But I do miss the fact that Alex Mitchell is not there. What a roller coaster of a year for Ollie Lawrence, though. Worcester going to the wall, finds a new club. Now he's playing for England. But I think the fact that Ollie Lawrence is there and Manu Tuolangi is not spells that this is a different era. This is a new time, and Steve Borthwick is the very first coach in a long time that has resisted the temptation of Manu Tuolangi. And on that alone, for that alone, I'm very, very grateful. I'm quite excited. I'm not getting carried away. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be very, very tight. I think England will edge it. Only by a few points, but I would not be surprised if Scotland win. I will say England 24, Scotland 22. I will be there I will be in the stadium at Twickenham, and immediately after the final whistle, I will be giving a little reaction video. Hopefully, I'm going to be in a good mood. I may well not be. See you on the next video. Oh, leave your comments and subscribe, please, because there's more videos coming.